Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Yeah No No Yeah. In this episode, we are discussing Damien Chazelle's filmography. This was Liam's choice for the topic, and so we discuss all 5 of his films and rank them. It's also that time of the year to where we are going through our Spotify Wrapped, so we each go through some of our stats from that and had some good laughs, and we also go through some other mini topics, so we hope you guys enjoy. As always, keep an eye out for the link trees in the descriptions if you want to find us on social medias, as well as the link to the Patreon if you want to help support the podcast. We would appreciate it. And keep an eye out for the timestamps if you want to avoid spoilers or anything like that. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Well, how is everybody? There was Thanksgiving. How is people's Thanksgiving? Aside from Keelan, because he doesn't celebrate.
I'm not a fucking American.
I know.
I worked. It's so dumb how every business gets to be closed on Thanksgiving, but a movie theater stays open. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
So that's all I did. I literally worked.
You guys did some weird shit. The sweet potato and the
Oh
marshmallow.
yeah.
Oh,
I made
what the hell was
I made a
that?
dish, and Liam and Keelan are freaking out because
We just don't understand
it's
it.
like baked sweet potatoes in a casserole, you know, like with butter and sugar, and then marshmallows go on top, and you bake it a little more.
Yeah,
and
the
they
marshmallows.
Get, like,
The
brown.
marshmallows.
I mean, it's tasty. It's like a dessert. So, have you had that, Quinn?
No, that sounds really good though.
It wasn't the
Sounds
worst thing I've
delicious.
ever had, but it was just like, why? Like, who invented this? What have you been doing, Keelan?
I'm working. Nothing interesting. You're coming to the wrong person for that one.
4 patrons, Sarah, Kevin, Luna, and Amy. Thank you to our awesome 4 patrons.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you to the
Appreciate it.
Fantastic Four.
Poll results next, if I can get it pulled up.
You're gonna get it pulled up.
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
What?
I hated that.
You've actually made that joke before, Keelan. I'm pretty sure.
has he?
Yeah. You hated that?
My
you
sense of
hate
humor has
yourself?
evolved. My sense of humor has evolved.
Devolved.
Man, it has been slow pulling up this website. I don't know if it's been like that for you.
Polling up this website.
Oh my god, I've had enough.
Numb for new metal. What's your favorite Linkin Park album? 1 for Hybrid Theory, 1 for Meteora. So it's
Yeah, that
tied.
sounds about
I
right.
approve of that. More votes, people.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah, we need
vote
more
up.
votes,
Seriously,
like-
what the hell?
Yesterday.
But should we get into what we've been watching? Who wants to go first? 'Cause it's not going to be me this time.
What the fuck have I even fucking watched, Liam?
I'll
Jesus.
go first. Well, I've been kind of on a documentary kick, and I've watched 3 documentaries lately, and I haven't logged any of them. Oh my god, what was it called? It was about this guy who had like cerebral palsy or something, and he just played World of Warcraft all the time. The Remarkable Life of Ibelin. He ended up passing away, and his family found like the password to all of his accounts and everything, so they were like reading the transcripts of everything he'd ever said. The documentary was kind of cheesy because when they went like into his conversations, they were replaying everything like WoW animation. So it was like all the characters being like, yeah, and he would have like this emotional conversation with like a girl, but it was like in World of Warcraft.
They had like a voiceover like guy doing like his voice.
Yeah. I mean, and that part was really cheesy, but it was really touching. It was really sad and interesting that somebody was able to like experience so much while not being able to like be mobile in real life, and
he
kind of a
was-
classic story, but
It seemed like he just touched a lot of people, really. I mean,
And-
like the community around him was just pretty fucking huge.
and it was kind of funny because they really like dragged him in the documentary, and they were like, yeah, he caused a lot of drama and like a lot of fights with all these WoW people, but then he like came around, he was like, I'm sorry, and like I don't know, it was just interesting. It was like he had kind of a villain arc. But it was pretty good.
Damn.
It's a weird one.
Yeah,
Watch
cry,
all
but
of
I
it or
didn't.
anything, by the way. I just kind of like watched on the side. God, just the music was so
I
over the
know.
top.
I know.
It was so over the top.
Actually, I did cry in the beginning, but I didn't cry in the end. But
in the end, it just got very, very cheesy, especially
was a
with
little
all the
bit
WoW
cheesy,
stuff,
yeah,
like
but-
in the animated world.
yeah, I enjoyed it.
Wow.
I would probably give it like a 4 because in the beginning it was so interesting, but I think it could have been executed so much better. I don't know, it's like a tribute to his existence. Maybe they could have wrapped it up better.
I don't like know what to say about it right now, but I'll go with You've Got Mail.
Ooh.
Oh, never seen it.
It's a really good movie. It's a nice little rom-com, honestly. It's great. I don't think I like love it yet or anything, but I really, really love like the dynamic between the main two and like how kind of long it takes for it to get to that execution that you want. But it's so interesting seeing how these characters like interact with each other and how it develops as the movie goes on, because they like are really like enemies for like a long time. It feels like the movie has to be that long and it has to take that long for that arc to come like fully, and it's just it really does like a good job with it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I love the side characters too. Like Greg Kinnear was a lot of fun. I liked him. Parker Posey, yeah, she was cool. She was kind of crazy though. But
Dave Chappelle.
oh yeah, Dave Chappelle. I forgot he was in it.
Oh, he's in it?
It's the same writer
Yeah.
from When Harry Met Sally, so
Ah.
there's a lot of good dialogue there.
Yeah, there is.
Nice.
It does feel like that kind of dialogue as well. Like, I mean, it feels like it's kind of in the same universe even, really.
Yeah.
It's just a really nice romance, and like the comedy, when it was hitting for me, it was hitting pretty well. I think just sometimes I do have an issue with Meg Ryan, maybe. She's just she's a bit difficult to get into sometimes, like
Yeah.
the way that she acts. She's so over the top with some
Sometimes
things.
it's almost like
Yeah.
she's like too adorable or something. Like, you
But
know.
I don't find her adorable, so she's just kind of annoying to me.
Yeah.
I just hate the way that she like spins her head around when she's saying things all the time. Like she just really does that a lot. It's like, well, I'm feeling this way.
Overacting. Yeah.
Well, I'm feeling this way.
She's just very over the
gonna
top,
log
and
into
she's like her
AOL.
arms are always flailing everywhere when she's walking and doing shit. It's like, just calm
she's, like,
down
really
for 2
bouncy,
seconds,
yeah,
please.
For real, yeah.
Good movie. I really liked it. I would give it an 8 out of 10 for now.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Yeah, I rewatched what is now, I mean, what I knew was one of my favorite shows, but man, it's been a long time since I've seen it. For whole first season of House of Cards, I just I felt like rewatching it, binging it, and God, that show is amazing.
is
It's
fucking
just
amazing.
fucking awesome. Because I remember I started it way back in like 2016 or 15 when I was like super into politics, so like I liked it just for that aspect. But even for somebody who's not into that stuff, it's just a great drama thriller.
It
like,
really
I mean,
is,
it
yeah.
just, you know,
It's so much
and
more than what you think it is, like going in.
It is perfect performances, just like the writing. I mean, it feels like, you know, it's got that Fincher feel. Perfect. I'm on the second season right now, and I totally forgot how the second season opened, and it's just shocking every time, and I love it. And it's like one of my favorite anti-heroes in TV or movies.
Yeah.
Perfect season of television.
It doesn't get enough love these days.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Like those first 3 seasons especially, but I kind of stopped after 4
I
or
would
5.
say
don't know,
4.
but-
Like, I haven't seen 5
Yeah.
yet, but I think it
Yeah.
stayed really consistent for me.
And I heard the last season is just terrible.
I'm
apparently,
not. I
so
refuse to watch it. I'll never watch it. I'll watch season 5
Yeah.
eventually, but I will never watch that. Mark my fucking words. Never.
I will just out of like morbid curiosity.
No,
I
I'm
can't
not-
not
I
know
cannot
how
do
bad
it.
it is.
I'm not doing
You
it.
know? Yeah.
Liam's showing me that for the first time right now.
I think season 2, episode 10 is the next
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it from the beginning. I thought it was pretty good, but now I'm like really hooked. I think it's really...
Yeah. It just hooks you at a certain point.
It takes like a long time for you to kind of get used to who all the characters are and what their motives are and everything. But then once you're like totally immersed, it's like insane. I have no idea what's going to happen next, and I love it.
Who's your favorite character? I love Doug Stamper,
Oh, I
fucking
love
Michael
Doug.
Kelly's character.
Doug is
I
crazy.
love him.
He's such a piece of
He's-
shit, though. He's
Yeah,
horrible.
he's an asshole.
Well, yeah, but I love how complicated he is.
He is, though.
You know? And like he's just like so cold, and just like the way it's like he's always whispering, and it's
Yeah.
fucking awesome. Like I just love that actor.
I'm just gonna say, like, as of now, because I'm going through season 2 again, and it's been a while, but like, God, I just used to rewatch the shit out of this like so often. But
Yeah.
I am falling back in love with Raymond Tusk. He is a incredible
Oh my God.
villain.
Oh my,
He
he's,
is so
Yeah, he
fucking
is.
good. He's
he's
a
a
piece
good
of
villain
shit.
because I hate his fucking guts. Like I hate that guy.
Yeah.
He's horrible,
So,
but he's so good at playing it.
I do think Remy is interesting.
Yeah.
He's like the only character that is kind of bad that I just love to watch.
I do like Claire.
Yeah, she's nuts.
Yeah, they're just sociopaths. All of
Oh
them.
my God.
They're just so good.
And, like,
they're
w-
straight up psychopaths.
Yeah, where we're at now. I mean, like, and even like what you said, the beginning of season 2 opens that way, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? But
Yeah.
now I'm just like, okay, actually, this is worse, whatever you guys are doing now than what you did at the beginning of
It
the
just
season.
somehow keeps like upping the idea every
Yeah.
time. It's great.
does.
It just gets more and more stressful each season.
I mean, literally, and this isn't a spoiler either, but like literally, like the very first scene of the show is Frank strangling beating a dog to death.
Yeah.
Like, that sets the tone.
I guess that's
But it's like,
Yeah.
you know?
But then you don't think about it because it's almost like the anti-hero thing in the show. It's like, yeah, he killed a dog, but like, let's see what happens. Like,
But he put it out of its misery. Yeah. So
right,
it's like
you're like, he
complicated,
did a good
you know?
thing, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a good, bad thing. But yeah, and that paints the whole show pretty much.
Yeah. God, it's so
yeah,
good.
it's just amazing.
It is
It's
really
so
good. Yeah.
It's so rewatchable too.
And I love when we're watching it also because the intro music, like the horns. Speaking of jazz, it's not jazz, but I love to like play the mouth horn along with it. It's so fun.
It's one of the only. And the soundtrack is amazing. That's another
It
thing
is,
too. The
yeah.
soundtrack
Yeah.
is just amazing.
It's really like bassy and I
like
love
it's one
it.
of the only TV intros I will not skip. Like I usually skip it always,
Yeah, I
but like
never
I
skip it.
never
I love
skip
it.
the intro. I love it. It's a perfect season. 10 out of 10.
And a very unexpected hyperfixation that kind of came out of nowhere after one night I was just thinking, hey, I should probably watch this again. I rewatched all the Wallace and Gromit short films. I started with The Wrong Trousers, even though that's the second one. Yeah, I started with that one because it's a classic, and I was like, hey, I remember this being amazing, and it was on my mind, so I rewatched The Wrong Trousers. Without being hyperbolic, it's one of the greatest things ever put to film. Like,
I mean,
it's
I'd agree, yeah.
I was just blown away. It feels more cinematic than like most things you'd see in the cinema now. The lighting, the blocking, like even the direction. It's crazy. And for like a stop motion film and doing stop motion in like the early 90s, in the 90s, and like having it such high quality, and it's only like half an hour long. The lighting stands out to me the most in The Wrong Trousers. Like it really blew me away, like how well lit it is. Like there's a bit where like Gromit is basically just leaving the house. Wallace is becoming new best friends with this penguin, moved into the spare bedroom, and the lighting there, like where it's like raining and he's wearing this like yellow raincoat, it's just like, damn, I can't believe this is a Wallace and Gromit movie. I can't believe they're doing this in this kind of movie.
That's so neat.
It's so fucking cool, and the quality persists like throughout the other three short films. I haven't rewatched Curse of the Were-Rabbit yet, but I will at some point, like before the new movie comes out. But the other three short films are like just as high quality. I don't love A Matter of Loaf and Death as much as the other three. I still think it's like really fantastic, and it has some really great bits in it.
Yeah.
I would love to rewatch these too. I watched probably not all of them, but some of them when I was younger, and it's beautiful. But also just like the humor. The humor's so subtle and so good.
It's so funny, and what's his name? Peter Sallis, I think his name, who voices Wallace. He's perfect. Wallace doesn't have a lot of screen time in most of them, actually. Like, most of them are kind of just Gromit adventures. But, like, his voice is so iconic. And I watched the trailer for the new one just to see, is the new voice, like, just as good? It is, actually. And I'm shocked at that, and I'm happy with that. So,
good.
looking forward to that new one. And yeah, I love Wallace and Gromit. Love those four little films. I'd give them all 10 except Matter of Loaf and Death, which I'd probably give like an 8 or a 9. They're all very funny and timeless. Get them watched.
Frodo.
He doesn't like hearing about a better dog.
We went and watched Anora. I really wanted to see that. I really love Sean Baker. It was kind of like a 2-part story, and so at first I wasn't sure how I was feeling because it's kind of presented in more of a flashy, like a gratuitous way, and then it slows down and becomes a really hilarious, kind of touching story. Yeah, I mean, the lighting, the way it's filmed, the way that the dialogue is, everything just feels so natural and really smooth, but it's also like I'm kind of scared when I'm watching one of his movies. Like I'm scared something really bad. When it first started to get funny, I was like afraid to laugh because I thought
Yeah.
something really horrible was going to happen.
Yeah, it does really create tension really well through comedy.
I think that's what's so good about it, though. It's like feels realistic because that seems so linear to life. It's like things are funny and things are really serious, and you're not really sure how to feel like from one moment to the next. So.
I've only seen the Florida Project Tangerine. I didn't really like either, to be honest. But so I hope this proves me wrong.
I had
hope
only
this,
seen the Florida Project, and I'm not huge into that movie, but I loved
Yeah.
Anora. Like once it gets to that point where it like
Yeah.
starts changing up or whatever, like it's just like so thrilling and so
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Like Quinn, you'll be laughing.
Yeah.
I think it's the most crowd pleasing of his films. Like it
Yeah.
feels like
Oh,
the
then I'll
most.
like it then.
The theater wasn't even that like full or anything, but like people were laughing. and,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
enjoying
Really?
it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a hysterical film. Like the second half, I could not stop laughing. I could not stop
neither.
laughing
Yeah, I
the
mean-
entire second
Especially from Toros. Toros was a huge standout
They-
for me. I love
half.
that.
Toros
Yeah.
and Igor, my boys,
Oh my god.
I love them.
Well, the chemistry between the 4 of those people is just like insane. I couldn't believe how well they all gelled and how all the jokes were hitting. It
It's
was
just
perfect.
chaotic at times, but it's so good. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to stop watching the characters.
Totally, yeah.
It
And
could have
then-
gone for 5 hours. I would have watched it.
That's what's interesting though too. Like oftentimes I think comedy and drama go so well together, and it's really great because you're stuck with these four people for so long, and it is so funny that when it starts to get more dramatic towards the end, you care about what's going on so much more.
I love the last 10 minutes. The final
Oh
shot
my
is
God.
one of the best final shots I've seen in a while. Like, it sticks with you. Should have called it Igor.
Yeah,
Anora.
Anorgor.
Igora.
Ignora.
Ignore, I hardly know her.
We've all made a cheesy joke so far this podcast.
Yeah, this is
Each
Yeah.
one of us has made a terribly cheesy joke.
Yeah.
Not me, I've only made good jokes.
Oh yeah, okay. Since we've all seen it, I just kind of want to talk about one episode of a show, if I can.
Ooh,
Do it.
Episode 1, season 4 of Breaking Bad.
box cutter.
Box Cutter.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, he knew that off the dome.
Oh, dude, I've seen it. I mean, I don't need. Yeah, you already know.
Yeah.
It's the best show ever.
I just have to talk about that episode alone. Like, I'm a bit more into season 4 now, but like that episode will stick with me as like one of the best episodes of television ever, I think, probably.
Wait, was this your first time seeing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had only seen up to the second last episode of season 3, so I watched
Oh, shit.
yeah, the last episode of season 3 and then Box
Mm-hmm.
Cutter, and now I'm further in. But that episode just like kind of fucked me up because it genuinely put me in a trance. Like I was like not ever like taking my eyes off the screen, I feel like, and I just
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't
Yeah.
stop feeling so fucking tense, and like my heart was racing like the
Yeah.
entire episode. Crazy how much like tension they're able to build throughout like that amount of runtime.
That's
Part of it
insane.
is like set in one place or whatever. That section of it feels so small in comparison, and like they're able to build up so much tension before they get to that, and then when you're in that moment, it's just like nothing else. Like you're just paralyzed.
That is interesting how you explain it too, because when you think about it, so much of Breaking Bad, especially in this season, it's like a play. It's all in one space, and the drama is so like tightly wound, and it just unfolds so well.
If you want to do the spoiler thing real quick, you can, because I mean I want
Okay,
to talk
oh, yeah,
about
we
some
all have seen
specific
it.
things.
Sure.
We have all seen it,
Yeah.
so
Spoilers for Breaking Bad Season 4, Episode 1.
yeah.
Okay, fucking Victor's death.
Yeah, Victor's death
Yeah.
is
That way.
fucking like insane. The thing is, like, Walt is just like screaming at Gus like the entire fucking time, and like you kind of feel like it's just gibberish to kind of get himself like out of the situation. But like the more he's
Yeah.
talking or whatever, you like see more shots of Gus when he's like starting to talk more, and like Gus seems like he is actually understanding and stuff. Then he goes and
Yeah.
does that to Victor, and it's like, yeah, that means he understands. And like the fact that Jesse gets that and Walt doesn't, I was like, man, like this character
Yeah.
writing, I'm like, fuck, like Jesse is so onto
good.
it. He's like just observing, and it's like he would
Yeah.
not have done that like seasons ago, you know?
Yeah, totally.
No.
But he's so fucking smart sometimes.
Doesn't get enough credit for it.
It's gonna be one of my favorites of all time, like forever,
Yeah,
probably.
how different like Jesse and Walt are from each other. Like Bryan Cranston's whole monologue where he's just so scared and worked up, and he's just talking and he's so nervous. Like it's just incredible to watch, but also like it is crazy how smart Walt is and how much he also doesn't know. And it kind of makes sense because Jesse has like lived an existence where he kind of gets the raw deal. Like he understands this like harsh line between almost like reality and fantasy, where Walt is still only lived his
Yeah.
life on one side, and it's just so
And Walt's
complex.
constantly just trying to like grow and grow, kind of.
Yeah, he's
Whereas Jesse
observing
is
and
just like
learning.
accepting where he is at this point.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know?
It's the whole street smart and book smart thing. Jesse's street smart and Walt thinks he can just kind of use his mind to get out of everything, but
Yeah.
sometimes he can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole episode. Yeah, just the build up of like, and then just Gus slowly putting on like his like rain jacket, whatever you want to call it, his suit.
Yeah.
Seeing how Jesse is like built throughout that episode as well, because he starts off from the point of like killing Gale.
He's like traumatized.
Like
Oh
he,
my
he
God.
just killed Gale, and like throughout the
Yeah.
episode, it's like you get to that end scene in the diner where they're talking or whatever, and Jesse's just so different. He's so numb to it. He's like, I don't care anymore. Like this is it. This is what we have to do. This is horrible, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's the biggest turning point for Jesse's character.
really is, yeah.
It's episode
Yes.
3 to 4, yeah. This episode's great, but the episode before, that's my favorite episode of the whole show, Full Measures, just because that
Yeah.
final like 20 minutes or whatever, like the build up when they have Walt at the washer and dryer place,
Oh,
and
man.
then Jesse having to go to Gail's house. Like that build up, that's where I feel the most like
That
just
tension
pure
was, like,
fucking tense.
oh my
yeah.
God.
So like it's just and then the biggest cliffhanger on like any show ever was the end of that season.
It's been like a really long time since like tension in a show has almost like brought me to tears.
Yeah.
Sometimes in this show I was just like, fuck, I cannot handle this anymore. Like
yeah.
it's crazy. God, what a show. I can't wait to see where it goes from here. I haven't even finished it,
man.
but
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, you're in for a lot more crazy shit.
I bet,
Trust
I
me.
bet.
You are.
But
Yeah.
also, like, can we
Yeah.
just take a moment to appreciate the scene where Gale is watering his plants
Yeah,
and
of
singing?
course.
Oh, right
It's
before
like the
he
cutest thing I've
gets-
ever seen.
He's
It's a lovely little scene.
He's so cute.
It's so
so
sad.
I know.
But it's so sad though, because he's such a weird, quirky guy, and then
Yeah.
like he never hurt anybody. That's the moment that gets me emotional, is when Jesse's like breaking down and crying
Yeah.
because he knows he has to do it.
That whole scene where they're gonna take Walt down into the lab, and he just calls him, and you think he's gonna, and he's just like, "You gotta do it now." It's like, oh my god, oh my god.
And then Mike is like
then he
scrambling
names
and
off.
Victor is like got a gun on him and shit, and you're just
Oh
like,
my
oh no,
god.
fuck,
And yeah, he's
oh
like
god.
running,
Yeah.
and you're just like, what?
Anyway, we should probably move on, I guess.
Yeah. Someday that should get like a whole.
That episode is a
episode, I
10,
mean,
by the
literally.
way, or
We
a
should.
100 out of 10.
Of course it is. Rewatched a horror movie that I hadn't seen in like 8 years. It's called Goodnight Mommy. It came out in 2014. It's the same director as The Lodge, which I know you guys like.
Yeah.
It was so disturbing. Like I actually was really disturbed, and so I thought I would be kind of numb to it now. It wouldn't be as bad, but it is just as disturbing as when I remember. It's just everything I want out of a horror movie. It's simple. It's psychological. Show don't tell. It's just like it's basically just about a mom that comes home from getting like facial reconstruction surgery. She has all these bandages on her face, and her 2 twin sons basically are starting to suspect, like, is this even our mom, or is she not? And so it's just a whole psychological drama from there. The first half is like a whole different movie from the second half, so that's gonna make or break it for some people. Like it kind of goes off the rails in like the second half, but I still love it. So yeah, just amazing performances. It's an Austrian movie, so I haven't seen these other actors in much, but yeah, it's just really damn good. Great child acting. I mean, there's like 3 or 5 characters, and it's just like, it's so good. So yeah, I was hooked from beginning to end. It was a great rewatch. I highly recommend it if you're into psychological horror. So yeah, I'd give it like a 10 out of 10. I will give it a full 10. Like, it's a little bit better than The Lodge. I love this and The Lodge, but this is, I mean, I just can't top this for me.
Yeah, I really
so I
wanna see
definitely should check it out.
It's creepy. It's kind of confusing. It's like you just don't really know exactly
Yeah.
what's going on, and
Yeah, to watch it at night, it's creepy as hell.
I watched a movie that had been on my watch list for years for some reason. Like, there's a couple of movies that just kind of stick with me, like in terms of like knowing that, oh, I want to watch this movie someday, but I never watched them because I could never find them, or I just wasn't in the mood for them at the time. This time that movie is a film called High Tension. It's directed
Oh,
by
yeah.
Alexander Aja, I think is his name. He did like the Hills Have Eyes remake. He did Crawl,
Did he
Horns.
do Horns? Yeah.
Yeah, he did
Oh,
do
I hate
Horns.
that movie.
That movie was weird.
I read the book though.
But yeah, High Tension was a movie that had been in my mind. It's an infamous movie to me because I've always heard people describe it as really fucked up, gore is cool, but twist fucking ruins it. And I was like, okay, I want to see just how bad this twist is. That was my draw for watching the movie, basically. And as well as the fact, the gore is pretty good, so that's an added bonus. And yeah, for the first half of the movie, it's kind of a generic like home invasion type thing. The movie is about like 2 girls and they're going back to like their family's farmhouse or whatever, and then like a psychopathic man breaks in, starts killing everyone one by one, and then the 2 girls escape. So that first half was just like, we've seen it before, a couple of good kills in there, but like nothing special. The second half of the movie is really fucking good. I really like the second half of the movie. Like from the gas station onwards.
The gas station bathroom. Oh my god.
Oh, you've seen it? Yeah, no, my god, the twist is horrible. It's horrific. I can't believe they did that.
For some reason, one of the reasons the twist bothers me so much is that, this isn't a spoiler or anything, but like in the very beginning of the movie when they're going out on their road trip or whatever, and they
Yeah.
see like this trucker in the car with the head,
Oh,
and he's like,
yeah.
for some
and he
reason,
throws it
that's-
on the ground.
that's like the biggest piece that fucks me up when I'm like, this twist sucks.
Yeah, and that's like the first, 5 minutes?
Yeah.
It's in the first 5 minutes of the movie and it's already going there, and it's just like, oh, okay. Bordering on spoilers, but like, the twist feels homophobic.
Okay.
Well, that's
Like, if
that's
you-
the issue that a lot of people have with it is that it's like
It's hard to talk about it without spoiling
yeah, I mean
it.
it's
Borderline offensive, like genuinely offensive, and I was like, are they really doing this? I was just shocked by the audacity of it, and the execution was kind of shitty as well. But the very last kill, I think it was really cool. So I'd probably give it like a 4 out of 10. I think like it had good elements, but it's just a run-of-the-mill horror until it's not, and then it just becomes terrible.
Do we have any mini topics?
I mean, I suppose there's the guy that fucking killed the healthcare CEO.
oh my
That
god.
rocks.
Come on!
I've been obsessed with this and Liam's tired of it, but oh my
I
god.
didn't want to talk about this in this episode. I knew it was going to get brought up.
It's a big topic. That was cool as hell.
Yeah, until they fucking caught the guy. Him leaving that backpack on purpose for the cops to find, but they didn't find it for like 3 days. The backpack full of Monopoly money.
Yeah.
Like, these fucking idiots.
He's so cool. I want to be him when I grow up.
I mean, yeah. It
He's
felt
like
like
a year
Mr.
older
Robot.
than me. But I guess as well as that, in more lighthearted news, Jeremy Allen White, he's playing Rotta the Hutt in The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I think he's a cousin of
Look like
Jabba.
a lizard or whatever.
Probably.
That's what Rotta the Hutt looks like right there. I just sent it into the
Okay, I
chat.
gotta look. He's gonna. What is he gonna voice that thing?
I wonder if they'll put him in
that's
like a suit or
strange.
something. Do it like they were going to do it originally, where he's just a guy. He's just a
Yeah,
He's
maybe
just
he just
like a
will be just a
mafia
guy.
guy.
He's a cousin of Jabba the Hutt, and he just looks like a regular guy.
That'd be so
That'd be
funny.
pretty funny.
Speaking of castings, I guess. I mean, Austin Butler, American Psycho.
Oh shit! Is that what happened? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
He's cast.
I think he's going to be
Yeah.
Patrick Bateman.
Whatever.
I
well.
don't give a fuck
No,
anymore. I'm just
He is.
over
I'm
it.
honestly
back,
same. I'm like,
back, I'm back
whatever.
to defend a remake. I think it's an interesting
Oh,
choice.
he's
We'll
back.
see how it plays out. We'll
It's
see
a
how it plays out.
reimagining, a reinterpretation.
It's a reinterpretation,
Yeah.
like Spike Lee says. I'm just completely open. I hope it's good.
Because the director probably, right? I mean, that's a big thing.
Pretty much because of the director, yeah.
This stuff happens so much and so often that, of course, it just feels bad, but the director has proven that he can retell us a beloved story with a new lens and new intention and pay attention to all the details. I think the fact that American Psycho is based off of a book makes it a little more complicated, and maybe
Yeah.
another interpretation could be just interesting, because I feel like in this case, I don't think that this director is someone who's like, yeah, let's do like scene for scene, let's do like a nod to the original, let's make it
Yeah.
cheesy. I think that there's potential for it to maybe be a completely different movie.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about it following those same kind of beats and just
Yeah.
like, because really, what
Just all the-
more can you do? I don't know.
Thinking about the Suspiria remake, the only callbacks in that to the original are like they're like visual references more than anything.
Yeah.
And they're not
Yeah.
like, hey, this is from the original, don't you recognize this? I think that would be the extent of it, or else like if it's already in the book, like it'll be in the movie. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure the carrot scene will still be there. I'm sure like every scene you love in American Psycho is still going to be there. I feel like he could probably do a cool spin on it. Maybe it's going to be less comedic. Probably I could see
Yeah.
it being a bit less comedic. If it's bad, it doesn't ruin the original. Like
Yeah.
the original's always going to be there.
Christopher Nolan's new movie keeps growing. Fucking Robert Pattinson. He's coming back as Edward Cullen. It's a vampire movie.
Wait, what?
So he's back as Edward Cullen.
Well, okay. For a
he's
second, I
just a
thought you
vampire.
literally meant his character was coming back.
No,
I'm like,
he's finally back,
Yeah, I was
maybe.
like,
Is Kristen Stewart going to be in it too?
Imagine that Nolan, of all people, brought back the Twilight Surge. That'd be insane. Robert Eggers could have brought Pattinson back for Nosferatu. I mean, they did Lighthouse together. That was a missed opportunity. They'd make him the vampire.
That would have been good. Well, do we want to get into Spotify Wrapped?
Well, probably minutes listened.
Yeah.
We could do our top 5 songs, our top 5 artists.
We were gonna do 25 songs, remember?
Oh, yeah,
oh, shit,
we're doing
okay.
the
Since
top
we
yeah,
listened to a lot
25
of music
songs.
this year, we might as
Yeah.
well.
Are we going to compare minutes first, like a duel, see who got the most minutes?
Yeah, I guess.
I listened to 35,703 minutes.
Pathetic.
I
Not
know.
too bad.
Mine's pathetic this year. It's the same, like literally 100 and a bit over 35,836.
Yeah,
My
that's low for him.
God.
Well,
Yeah.
you had a busy year. You had a
I had a
big
very busy
change.
year.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense.
I expected that from Julia, but from you, Liam? Jesus.
Shut the fuck up. I will bring you back.
God damn it, Keelan.
72,349.
That's a lot of minutes.
I listened to 90,643 minutes of
Oh
music.
boy.
I knew it'd be higher. That's why I was
Oh
like,
my
fuck it, I'll
God.
go.
It's the highest I've ever had. So I guess top artists then?
5, St. Vincent.
Ooh.
4, Lana Del Rey.
Yeah.
3, Korn.
Nice.
Oh,
2, Chelsea Wolfe.
hell yeah.
And 1, Marilyn Manson.
Fucking
Wow.
disgusting.
I was not even expecting that.
I
That's
love Marilyn
awesome.
Manson. I know it's
That's good.
bad because
No, I
the
don't-
listeners are going to cancel me, but I just I love him as music.
You like what you like. Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie both did a song together covering the Beatles song Helter Skelter, and I fucking love that song. That's like one of my favorite Marilyn Manson songs. It's actually good. Like it's
That
actually a
sounds
good cover.
disgusting.
5-1. Number 5 was Mode Rat.
Ooh.
I wonder why.
You'll wonder why for these next two.
Oh, I know.
Number 4 was System of a Down.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Number 3 was Korn, same as you.
Hell yeah.
Number 2 was Gorillas.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
And number 1 was Flying Lotus.
Wow.
So 4 of those
Wow.
are podcast related.
Yep. The podcast
Yeah.
was very influential to my listening this year because otherwise I was just very busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you do this year that you were too busy? Come on.
Well, you know, nothing much.
All right, my top 5. Number 5, Death Grips.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yo.
4, Limp Bizkit, baby.
That'd be higher.
I know. Yeah. No, this is weird though. This next spot, you guys had Korn at number 3. I have Korn at number 3.
What the fuck is going
I
on?
Literally,
did-
all
I
of our
saw that
threes
on
have been
your
Korn
Oh
so
my
far.
god.
Yeah.
It's fucking
crazy.
weird. Number 2, System of a Down. 3
Nice.
medals in a row. And then number 1, the Beatles. Just kind of feels
Oh,
weird.
yeah.
Following like
Hell yeah.
4 crazy bands and then all of a sudden the Beatles at
The
one.
Beatles were a crazy
The Beatles
band.
are awesome.
You ever heard Revolution number 9?
Yeah, they are kind of
Yeah.
Limp
true.
Bizkit could never do Revolution number 9. My number 5 is Paramore, the only one here that was related to an episode, thank God. Number 4, Bruce Springsteen. Listened to a lot of The Boss this year, more than I expected to, I think. Number 3, St. Vincent. Number 2 was Knocked Loose, because I just listened to that album non-stop. Number 1, Akira Yamaoka, who did the soundtrack to fucking Silent Hill 2 and 3,
That is
and
a
1
great
and
believe
4.
that. I don't believe that.
That is a fucking great soundtrack.
Do we want to do those weird genre things? Do we have to do like 3 of them each then? Because they kind of split them into months this year, didn't they? Like,
Yeah, they did.
March was my witchy metropolis art pop phase. I listened to a lot of St. Vincent, Sharon Van Etten, and Lana Del Rey. June was my pumpkin spice Hollywood pop season
Fuck.
with Lady Gaga, Beyonce, and Britney Spears. July was my bougie strut rap moment with Megan Thee Stallion, Travis Scott, and Kid Cudi.
Oh my god.
Nice. April, I guess, was your atmospheric early electronica trance phase.
Checks
So
out.
above and beyond anime and ATB. A lot of dumb like rave shit.
That's not dumb.
May was your hacker synthesizer electronica season.
Ooh.
Mr.
You were
Robot
all about
soundtrack.
artists like Mode Rat, Royksop, and Underworld.
Yeah, just talk.
September was your Malgoth rock out new metal moment. You were big on artists like Korn, System of a Down, and Limp Bizkit.
Hell yeah.
Malgoth.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they mention Linkin Park instead of Limp Bizkit?
I know. Okay, my February was Malgoth wrestling new metal.
Oh, wrestling.
Wrestling.
Wrestling new metal. Artists like System of a Down, Korn, and Limp Bizkit. Same thing, basically.
Interesting. Wrestling. Where'd that come from?
I don't know. My June was Liminal Movie Tunes soundtrack. I listened to Akira Yamaoka, Rolf Kent, and Daniel Leach. I don't remember what they did. Apparently it was like movie soundtracks, so. And then my September was Pumpkin Spice Rock Out Grunge.
Oh, we both got pumpkin spice.
Wow.
Yeah, listening to artists like Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden, and Alice in Chains.
My February was also Liminal Movie Tunes soundtrack, which isn't a. What are they trying to do there? Liminal Movie Tunes soundtrack? Why are they
I don't know
saying?
what they're trying to do with any of this shit. It's so
Yeah,
Liminal.
that's just a string of random
Rap
words.
was weird this year, guys.
It was a
You
little
wanna know
odd.
why? You wanna know why?
AI.
It's because AI made it. this
Yeah.
year.
Listening to artists like Kira Yamaoka, Trent Reznor, and Atticus Ross, and Angelo Badalamenti. And then my March was Game Night, Permanent Wave, Heartland Rock.
Game night.
What?
And it only lists Bruce Springsteen as the artist I listened to.
Oh my god.
Just Bruce Springsteen. Yeah, I got the exact same thing for my April as Liam and fucking Quinn did. I got Molgoth Rock Out New Metal for listening to Korn, Limp
Why do you
Bizkit,
mind
and System of a Down. We do the top 25, yeah?
25 was Ween with If You Could Save Yourself. You Save Us All.
What a banger.
24, Iron Moon, Chelsea Wolfe.
Ooh.
So good. 23, Song of the Storm, Emily Simon. Japanese Breakfast, 12 Steps.
Nice.
What a
That's
tune.
such a great song.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson, Apple of Sodom. Chelsea Wolfe, The Warden. That Apple of Sodom is from Lost Highway soundtrack, and it's amazing. St. Vincent, Reckless. Metronomy, Things Will Be Fine. Marilyn Manson, 15. Mates of State, Blue and Gold Print. Travis Scott, and Tizo Touchdown with Modern Jam. Thanks, babe.
Some bangers.
Madonna, I Deserve It. Hayley Williams, Crystal Clear. Neil Young, Tell Me Why. Madrugada, Hands Up, I Love You. Lana Del Rey, Let Me Love You Like a Woman. C-Matt, I Hate Who I Am When I'm Horny. That's a jam.
It is a jam.
That's a fucking
It
jam.
is a jam.
This Is Keelan's Fault, 7 by Taylor Swift, which somehow made it into my top 25.
I really like Folklore. I'm sorry. It's a good album.
And then Beth Gibbons, Floating on a Moment. Marilyn Manson, Crypt Orchid.
Ugh.
I don't know how to say this girl's name. Leah Isis with Him, which I didn't think I listened to that much, but I guess I did. Granddaddy, Water Cooler. Chelsea Wolfe, Dusk. Chelsea Wolfe, House of Self-Undoing. And then my top number 1 song was Soothing by Laura Marling. Thanks, Keelan.
I love that song.
My 25 was Change by Flume. I just re-listened to that a lot because it's a banger. Big Man, Little Dignity by Paramore.
Hell yeah.
Amazing song.
Tune.
This is embarrassing. One Kiss with Dua Lipa by Calvin Harris.
Okay.
I don't know why. I had a
Liam,
mini
go
obsession.
look in the mirror right now and just
I need to look in the
reevaluate
mirror. I really do.
How's that worse than Taylor Swift?
That's true.
Yeah.
It's true. You Will Never Work in Television Again by The Smile. I Can Change by Primal Scream. Under the Radar by Foals. Pale Shelter by Tears for Fears. We Don't Know What Tomorrow Brings by The Smile. Paid by Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign.
Embarrassing. Embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing. Veronica Lake by Sparks. The Lost Chord by Gorillaz. Sunset by Caroline Polachek. Renaissance, the main title theme from White Lotus Season 2.
Oh, we listen to that every
I
day.
listened to it so much I couldn't stop. It's too good. Honeysuckle Neckbone by Black Odyssey and Bootsy Collins. This is 11. Okay. 11 is Tunnel Vision by Justin Timberlake. Okay. 10 is Pretty Impossible by Caroline Polachek. 9 is Cracker Island by Gorillaz and Thundercat.
Also incredible.
8 is Darts by System of a Down.
Hell yeah. Oh, that's such a banger. I love
Yeah.
that.
7 is Strange Apparition by Beck. Thank you.
Listen to that a lot.
Nice.
Yep, you're welcome.
Nice.
It's so good. Number 6 is Rich Spirit by Kendrick Lamar. 5 is Silent Running by Gorillaz.
What a tune.
Number 4 is Tarantula by Gorillaz.
I don't remember that one.
Number 3 was Toxicity by System of a Down.
Hell yeah.
What a tune.
Banger of all bangers.
I need to look at what this is specifically. You showed me this, but number 2 is Dancing People Are Never Wrong, Jan Blomqvist remix by The Bianca Story. My number 1 is embarrassing, but I predicted it. I told you what I thought it would be, and it was that. But it's Burn by Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign.
Oh.
I don't even know what that sounds like, to be honest.
I just never skipped it anytime it came on. It's just like a minute and a half.
25, we are kicking off with Limp Bizkit with Break Stuff at 25.
yeah.
All
I
right.
can respect
Number
it. I can
24,
respect
Getting Better by the Beatles.
it. Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
what
That's
a
good
what
one.
a fucking bang.
It's a good one. 23, Terrible Lie by Nine Inch Nails.
Another fucking banger. Keep going.
Yeah,
Quinn.
that's my
Keep
favorite
going.
Nine Inch Nails song. 22, Get Down Tonight by Casey and the Sunshine Band.
All right.
Data and Picard by Pogo. It's like a Star Trek remix song. It's random, but it's good. It's good. Gonna Make You Sweat by C&C Music Factory. Nowhere Man by the Beatles.
Oh, I love that song.
Banger.
Only Want to Be With You by Hootie and the Blowfish.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Dude, I have a... Yeah.
We got a
It's a
Hootie
fun
fan over
period.
here. Holy shit.
Hot Dog by Limp Bizkit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy.
No Excuses by Alice in Chains. This one's a weird title. VI almost equal to IX by Akira Kosamura. Born to Be Alive, the original by Patrick Hernandez.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Yep. Climax. What Remains by Enon Zur. It's a song from Fallout. It's my favorite Fallout song. I Want Your Love by Chic. That's All by Genesis.
Oh, I love that song.
Dude, that's a great
Oh, I fucking love That's All. I don't like Genesis, but I love that song.
Yeah, that was my 11.
That's fair.
Was That's All by Genesis. Number 10, Promise by Akira Yamaoka.
Yes, man.
Yamaoka.
The reprise.
It's amazing. The reprise. Roll with the Changes by REO Speedwagon.
This is such a millennial list. This is
It
such
is.
a millennial top 25.
Number 8, The Queen is Dead by the Smiths.
Yes.
Yes.
The best,
That's
the
a great
best
song.
Smith song.
Number 7, Good Times Roll by the Cars.
Nice. I love the Cars.
Number 6, Take Me Out by Franz Ferdinand. Jam by Pogo. He does those remix songs. This is like a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air remix. It's just so catchy. 4, How Soon Is Now by the Smiths. 3, Don't Bring Me Down by Electric Light Orchestra.
Don't bring me down.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's just
I could do karaoke.
2 is Bang a Gong, Get It On by T-Rex. I'm not gonna lie. After
love
watching
T-Rex.
Longlegs, I had that shit on repeat. It's a song called The Hustle by Van McCoy. It's like a funky disco, like instrumental. I don't know. I was surprised at that one, but yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's my number 1, I guess.
Straight off the bat, number 25, we got Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. Fucking incredible song. Number 24, Under Our Pillows by The Smile. Number 23, Frenzy by Machine Girl. Girls and Boys by Blur. Spaghetti Western by Primus. Compress Repress by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross from the Challengers soundtrack. Flea by St. Vincent. Blinding Faith by Knocked Loose. Laura Palmer's Theme by Angelo Badalamenti.
yeah.
That always appears in my
Hell yeah.
fucking top 100.
As it should.
Challengers by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, Von Dutch by Charlie XCX, Read the Room by The Smile, White Noise by Akira Yamaoka, Challengers Match Point by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, Leprosy by Death, and then number 10, we got Reckless by St. Vincent. Incredible fucking song. Dad Vibes by Limp Bizkit.
That was a jam. That was a really good fucking song.
Fuck yeah.
It's really good.
Agree.
Death of a Party by Blur. At number 7, Don't Reach For Me by Knocked Loose. Number 6, Heaven's Night by Akira Yamaoka. Number 5, Broken Man by St. Vincent. Number 4, Brutalizer by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Number 3, Suffocate by Knocked Loose. Then number 2, The Promise Reprise by Akira Yamaoka. And then number 1, Theme of Laura by Akira Yamaoka.
Wow.
Wow.
Get into the main topic. Let's get jazzy, guys.
Let's save
Like
jazz.
Let's save jazz.
Can I tell you an interesting story about Charlie Parker that you've definitely never heard before?
This was my topic to talk about the films of Damien Chazelle.
Woo!
Damien Chazelle, born January 19th, 1985. He's a French-American filmmaker born in Rhode Island. He went to high school, struggled to make it as a jazz drummer. He said he had a intense music teacher who was the inspiration for Terrence Fletcher in Whiplash. He felt he didn't have the talent for it, and he pursued filmmaking at Harvard University, where he was roommates with composer and frequent collaborator Justin Hurwitz. He graduated in 2007. For Whiplash, he has been nominated for the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. His biggest commercial success came with La La Land, which was nominated for 14 Academy Awards, winning 6, including Best Director, making him the youngest person to win the award at age 32.
Wow.
Wow.
So we can start off with Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench if you guys want, which
Alright.
came out 2009, 2 years after he graduated.
I didn't know he went to Harvard.
I don't want to talk about Guy and Madeline.
Yeah.
I mean, we all kind of don't,
Oh,
I
you
think,
have to.
but it's there.
I mean, it's so obvious, like, this is like the blueprint for like a lot of his stuff to come.
It is the most similar to La La Land.
I felt confused by this movie.
It's really disjointed.
Yeah, it was, and then it was like 1 week earlier. But then it was like, is this in the future? Is this in the past? Like, when did he date this chick and this other lady? And what's going on? I don't know.
All over the place. It's messy. There's no like characterization really. I don't know who's who. I don't know what's going on. It's like no plot. It's kind of just vibes.
If there ever was a student film, it's this. Like, it's
It is very student filmy.
Yep.
yeah, very amateurish in a lot of ways, but it's kind of cute to see those things in a way. Like, I mean, I didn't
It
like
is.
hate this or anything. It's just like I would never watch it again. It's just like
Yeah.
nice to kind of see where he started if you want to see that.
It's only interesting in retrospect because he has directed Whiplash and La La Land now. This was his first movie and Whiplash was his second, and like the jump in quality between these two movies is
Yeah.
like insane.
Yeah,
So
it's
like
fucking
fair
nuts.
play to him for like improving.
Yeah.
Basically testing the waters for a lot of stuff he will do. Like exact same that one shot in the movie.
Yeah, the whip pan, how he always
Yeah.
moves the camera. on the
Yeah,
cement
yeah.
Instead of just cutting.
I'm glad that you guys agree that this was confusing because it made me feel fucking stupid.
It did make yeah.
Me too.
Like it's a mumblecore movie, and mumblecore movies can be good. This just felt like an average person's idea of a mumblecore movie. If you told them like, oh, there's a genre called mumblecore that exists, that's
Yeah.
about basically nothing, and like it's very quiet and it's menial.
It's just hard to put yourself through something like that where it's like nothing is really happening.
Well,
And
well,
it's just vibes and noises and
yeah, it is just noises. You know, like what Keelan said before, like Whiplash is so contained and the story is so clear, and it's like there's no fat in Whiplash, and it's so compelling. And just to go from something that's like all fat basically and so confusing, it's really interesting. It's crazy and so confusing. Yeah.
In a way, I did come away from this movie feeling really disappointed, more so than the other ones, because like I felt like I was actually gonna like vibe with this like at least a bit. The only bit where I was having like any enjoyment at all really was like the tap dancing scene.
Do we mean the one later on or the one earlier on?
The one at the party.
The one at the party I think was fine with the guy
Okay,
with the
that
long
was
hair.
good. That was actually like the best scene, even though it was just.
It was
an average
enjoyable. It
scene.
looked like a fun time.
Probably my favorite, and that was when he did the whip pan shot, so that was like
Yeah.
what kept me engaged. I'm talking about the one later. I hate that one because like they're all tap dancing in like tennis
weird.
shoes and it makes no sense, and it's just making the tap dance shoe sound, and it was just like
It just annoyed me, that entire sequence. Like, the choreography is awful.
it was terrible. It was cringe.
Yeah.
That scene was just kind of cringe.
But it's like, it's amateurish in that kind of way where it is cringe, but it's like, it's kind of sweet
Yeah.
that they're trying.
It is.
I did enjoy that dance scene because of that. Because of how amateurish it felt and how scrappy it felt. Like, the movie, like, overall, it looks cheap as fuck.
Yeah.
That can definitely have its benefits. I wish I could say it did here. It's kind of a visually murky movie, even for like a black and white movie. There's nothing that really stands out in terms of like composition or any decent like shots in the movie or anything.
It's all just very standard handheld shit.
Yeah.
And it's like mostly like extreme close-ups as well.
He does that later on in his in his films, and it feels like it's more honed in that kind of way. But this is just like, you can tell he doesn't really know what he wants the style to be here. He's just kind of like, yeah, let's make it feel natural, and I'll move the camera how I want, I guess.
You know, that is actually interesting though, just thinking about people as people and where their passions lie. Like if he was like, I'm going to be a jazz drummer, then suddenly became interested in film, it is, I guess, compelling thinking about he was just dipping his foot into it and it was turned out really bad, but then he like
You can feel like he's still
really
in
got
that,
better.
like, you know, he still has that musical interest or whatever while he's making this movie and stuff. Like, clearly it's on display because, like, that's most of what the movie is.
if you do feel passionate about switching what it is you want to do, I mean, he really had what it took to make good cinema inside. It just was like really buried or something.
He just didn't have the resources to really do it.
It's a really inspiring story, though, like, that he was able to hone in those skills and, like, make Whiplash, and then youngest guy to win that award, like, Academy Award.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking amazing, I think.
Some directors, you know, that are really renowned have like their first effort and you can see their potential in it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you can't really see his potential in this. His talent at all is completely hidden in this movie.
I don't think I'd say his talent is hidden more so than... I don't think the direction in this movie is bad. I think the script and the editing more so are what drag this movie down, because like in terms of like the directing, I do see what you're saying in terms of like, oh yeah, his talent is hidden, but like it's clear like from what's put on the screen, he does understand like the language of cinema, and he does understand like the language of like musicals and like these types of like indie films of the era. The guy behind the camera has a bit of talent, but like if I'd only seen Guy and Madeline and like Whiplash, La La Land or whatever didn't exist, I'd just kind of watch it, just forget about it maybe. He has an interesting bit of style, but like the movie is kind of shit overall. Kind of fucking went off track there, but what my point is basically, if I'd seen this, like I wouldn't anticipate seeing another film from this person. And I guess that does kind of go back to you, oh yeah, his talent is kind of hidden, so I think you are kind of right, but I don't think it's completely true, because I think there are elements of it that are
I see what
very
you
well
mean.
done. Even in talking about like the whip hands and the musical sequences, like I didn't love it all in this movie, but like that shit's hard to do. Like the whip panning is so difficult. Doing it on his first movie like it's nothing. Fair fucking play.
Exactly.
Like, I was very impressed by that.
Yeah.
You could tell
And, like,
he had like ideas, he had a vision, but he just didn't, you know, have the skills yet or the resources. And like that's why like I can't completely shit on this movie, because I didn't completely hate my time watching it. I was just bored. I kept thinking to myself, well, could I make a better first movie? I don't know, probably not.
That
so
is
like
a-
I kind of you know that's what I think about when I'm watching like a director's first feature. I'm like, yeah, it's like bad, but like could I do much better? I don't know. So
Yeah.
Just wish it wasn't so, like, mumbly, and the editing wasn't so, like, all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, it needed decent writing or like some kind of fucking interest, you know? Otherwise it's just like, yeah, this director's got some vision. It looks decent at times, but that's it, really.
And that's probably its biggest weakness, is it's just very boring.
Really proved to me like how much music is like a cheat code in movies, because I kept imagining all these mundane scenes of her just like wandering around the city and shit, and like they play all this like really loud jazzy music, and I just kept imagining the scene without the music, and I thought it would be like that'd be the worst movie ever. The fact that there's music makes it a scene now.
Yeah, this would not work without music. But speaking of that, thank God for whoever fucking made them roommates, because Justin Hurwitz is like one of my favorite things about Damien Chazelle's filmography.
Seriously.
The music here is even really good. Like the music is not like a fault here at all, and like that's consistent throughout all of Damien Chazelle's movies.
He's a really fucking talented guy.
This one to Whiplash, La La Land, First Man, Babylon, all amazing scores.
Yeah, he's like his only exclusive one or whatever. Like he doesn't do anything else. He's
Yeah,
like, only
we're
Damien.
looking him up and
I love that.
I like when there's some cinematic duos like that. Some
Yeah.
film
Then when they
duos.
work together, he
good.
fucking cooks a feast.
That was a lot more time than we probably thought we'd spend on this movie.
One last thing. I don't know who Madeline is.
Exactly.
I knew who,
who Guy
and
was.
who Elena was.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell who Madeline was. I'm sorry, I just couldn't.
And then you realize it doesn't matter because there's like no character.
What's going on
characters.
here?
Yeah.
It was like the script was like half finished. You know, it's like this is not a full story.
You fucked it on this one, Damien. You fucked
Yeah.
it.
I mean,
I mean,
You're a failure. You'll never make a good movie in your life, Damien Chazelle, as long as I live.
that'll be like the good question to ask him if you ever do like meet him. You could just be like,
What the fuck was
timeline of
Guy and
this
Madeline
movie? What's
about?
going on?
yeah. You would be the one person out of all the questions you could ask him. I'd give it a generous 5 out of 10. I would never watch it again, but I can't say it was like the worst thing ever.
I'll go with a 4 out of 10. I didn't like it very much.
I give it a 3.
It's a 4 out of 10, I'm afraid. Sorry, Damien.
But it's alright. He came back in 2014 with Whiplash. Whiplash.
Whiplash.
Hell
What
yeah.
the fuck?
You know what the
I
problem
know.
with Guy and Madeline is? He was Russian.
Or was he dragging? I don't know.
No, he was Russian. He was fucking... I haven't seen this movie in years. He was rushing. He was absolutely rushing. I could even tell his timing was off. Fletcher was right. I'm starting a campaign. Fletcher was in the right.
I didn't think that was up for debate.
Like, the timing was absolutely atrocious by Andrew there. I'm sorry.
My first Damien Chazelle movie. Was it
Yeah.
a lot of
Yep.
your guys' first?
Me too.
I think it'd be
Yep.
all of ours.
Yeah.
Back in
Probably.
2014. 2014 was a
Yeah.
banger year.
It was such an amazing year.
Kind of blew people's minds when it came out.
Hell
This
yeah.
was a huge deal. Just like, oh yeah, J.K. Simmons is in this like movie about drumming, and it's like really cool and intense. Glad it's basically become a classic at this point. I don't think I've ever met a person who dislikes Whiplash. It's just so infectious. Cinema magic distilled into 100 minutes. It's brilliant.
But I mean, it is stressful as hell. I mean, we watched it with Stella. She hadn't seen it before, and
Yep.
she was stressed out.
She was like squirming, but then she was like, "Why is this guy so funny?
He does have jokes. He does have
He's
jokes.
got jokes." Yeah.
There's one of his jokes I didn't appreciate especially. Like, he does throw around a couple of slurs in the movie, but there's
Oh, yeah.
one in
Oh,
particular
yeah.
that I take great issue
Oh,
with.
is it the Irish guy?
Oh.
The alternate drummer, he calls him a patty cracker. I had to pause the movie. I was fuming. I was furious. I'd completely forgotten about that, and I just had to sit there for a second and just contemplate the fact that I just watched J.K. Simmons say that. Saying probably the worst thing you could ever say to an Irish person besides, oh, are you English?
Oh my god.
Man.
Yelling some other shit at that same guy because he was like the redhead, right? And
Yeah.
So like he's adjusting his seat. He's like, "What do you look for? Your pot of gold down there?" Or whatever.
Yes.
I fucking thought that was hilarious.
The main thing anyone takes away from this movie is like, fuck me, J.K. Simmons. One of the greatest performances of all time. Like, hands down.
Steals
Hands down.
Yeah.
show.
A load of amazing movies. He's had a load of iconic roles, but this little indie movie that he just fucking happened to star in the short film of, it's his best role.
It really is incredible, and just the psychology in the whole movie. I mean, it's such a deep level of passion and manipulation. And I keep thinking about the scene where the kid goes to the jazz club on accident and sees him playing piano, and then they have the conversation. It's creepy because he's still so calculated. He's a very complex character. I am just fascinated by all of those little details in this movie.
Yeah, just the way the story unravels, and like you think the whole time like this guy's an asshole, like this teacher, but then like you come to learn why he is the way that he is, and like why he's doing the stuff that he's doing. He's not actually trying to like traumatize these kids. He's really
but then
trying
it's
to
like
mold
Yes, he
them.
is.
he is.
Well,
Yeah, I mean he's evil.
No, but his goal is to push an artist to the point of breaking through to something like greater. In his mind, his intention's good.
He's trying to do whatever he can to evoke a passionate response, but it's like at any cost he doesn't care, which makes him bad, but also at the same time, like you're saying, there's this like duality.
His character is just like a drill sergeant trying to break you. Like he's trying to break the person to like build them back up into something better. Like that's basically how I look at his character. So like whenever he's yelling all of his crazy slurs and his like offensive shit, then like I can't get mad at it because I know that it's not like he means that. Like he is trying to get under the skin of his students.
If anything, I think his intent is selfish more than anything.
Completely selfish, I think.
It
but
is.
It's
It is completely selfish. I
it's
think.
something that some people can probably get behind in a way.
I do agree to the fact that like the film does leave a bit of room to kind of be like, oh, maybe he's not that bad. But no, he is that bad. I think he is that bad. I think he's just an awful asshole. Like I don't think there's any universe where you could excuse this behavior, but that's what makes this movie compelling. Because like you're seeing something so extreme being carried out and you're just like, this would never happen. Like this is like such grounds for like fucking abuse of like students and like just pure mental torture like he's giving all of his fucking students.
Literally the best analogy I could think of is like if what they say about Stanley Kubrick doing to Shelley Duvall for the reasons he did, like this is like a good parallel. Like Stanley Kubrick was a piece of shit to Shelley Duvall to get a great performance out of her. That's kind of what Fletcher's doing to Andrew. He makes him want to become better, and he does. Getting there, it's like do the ends justify the means, is that type of thing.
Yeah.
Put it this way, do you think fucking John Lennon had a fucking share thrown at his head when he was learning how to play guitar? Like,
No. That's the thing, there's exceptions. Like not everybody's been traumatized to a point of becoming a great artist, but like
That's a good sort of like existential question too, because it's like, does becoming a great artist mean that you must be tortured, that you must like endure some like heinous whatever against you, or can you
in a
naturally
lot of cases
like,
that's what makes great artists, but I don't think you like have to go through that. But
that's like his philosophy.
And what about Miles Teller?
fucking great too.
He is really, really great.
hands down his best performance. Kind of sad that I haven't ever seen him reach this kind of level again. He has so much fucking dedication to this role. Like I knew he played drums like before he was cast in the film, but some of the stuff he does in this, and like I don't think there were many doubles used in this film. Like there probably was doubles, but I'm not sure if there was a lot, because as far as I know, most of the drumming like on the soundtrack is actually played by Miles Teller, and it shows. That's one thing. Sorry, I forgot to say this about Guy and Madeline. This also goes for Babylon and La La Land. I love that the music is accurate. That's just like a nerdy thing from my part, but like I love that the music matches up to what's being played. That rarely happens in movies.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And so much more real and so much more authentic.
Yeah.
Watching Whiplash after like attempting to learn the drums, I have played the drums before, but like just seeing like all the techniques he was doing, it's just like how do you move it like that? He handles the emotional and more heightened moments very well as well.
Spoilers for Whiplash.
The one part of this movie that I've always kind of thought was a bit generic, but I'm always shocked at how well it pulls it off, is the car crash.
Yeah, fucking hell, that's
I
crazy.
love, yeah.
You know what's going to happen, but the way it's pulled off, and that argument that he has with Fletcher with being like, no, I'm going on that fucking stage, like, and he's all bloody and stuff. No one's saying anything to the fact that he was bloody. It's just like, well, if you get your sticks, you can fucking play.
That's something that Miles Teller is extremely good at, and I wanted to circle back to another part of his performance that I really love, is really trying to stand up for himself, but he's also very arrogant in his ability. When he's talking to the teacher in that scene, he's just trying to like grasp what he believes belongs to him and what you've seen him struggle and like be tortured over. The fact that he's really playing the drums, I think, is great, because one of the things that I think makes this movie so effective for me is all of his facial expressions while he's playing the drums.
If you think it's a happy, triumphant ending, I think you're an idiot. It is such a depressing ending, like having Andrew just completely around Fletcher's thumb. This makes it sound a lot worse than it is, but like it's just insanely like manipulative bullshit that is just so harrowing to see. As thrilling as the last like 15 minutes is, there's also this underlying element of dread. I mean, obviously when he gets there first and it's just like, oh, we're not playing this piece, like fucking hell, he's panicking. Like you get the dread there, but like throughout his performance, like as he keeps going, as he keeps fucking beating on, it just gets like a lot more depressing to me. I love it. I love the end of this movie makes me feel. Perfect ending. Probably one of my favorite film endings of all time. And I think most people who would see this movie could say that, because it's a perfect ending.
And it's like the power struggle where you're watching him like flop, and then when he gains his footing, it's like so powerful to see. But at the end, it's almost like, I mean, he's lost his footing again.
Andrew is also an asshole as well as Fletcher. They're both assholes.
Yeah, exactly. That's yet again why I don't think Fletcher's like the complete villain of the movie or something, because like everybody's kind of shitty in their own way. Like, look at what Andrew does to like the girl that he could have had a relationship and a life with. He basically throws it away and treats it like it was nothing. Being an asshole. I know everyone was being an asshole at that dinner table scene, but he was kind of being an asshole back.
Yes, yep.
So like,
I think he was actually the asshole in that situation. He just goes overboard for no reason. He just acts like a pretentious asshole. It's just like,
that's
Andrew,
true.
what
He
the hell,
does.
man?
He feels like everything should be revolving around him, but like all these other people are talking and have their own shit too.
There's also kind of a pretentious air to him. Like a quote he says, or a poster that's shown, it's like, oh yeah, if you're not good enough to play a jazz band, you play in a rock band or whatever. I think that's seen on a poster or something, which, you know, people can have opinions on what, but like that's just kind of a pretentious thing
But
to
it
think,
also
I
kind
think.
of brings in like Terrence's influence probably as well. Like it's kind of like a child imitating that a little bit because he is younger and more influenced by that stuff.
And you can see that in his character, like.
I haven't actually thought of it in that way, but that is a valid, that does make sense. Like having, because I just kind of thought that it was just kind of the way he would think anyway, because he's so obsessed with jazz and so obsessed with drumming. But I think that's also a valid point. That's probably correct.
Juvenile
actually.
He
arrogance.
worships Terrence, but he also, hates him. Like, I mean,
Yeah. The relationship is so interesting and so entertaining to watch because of how symbiotic it is. They both need something from each other.
That reminds me, like, a whole nother dynamic I just thought of, like, when watching it this time was, like, Fletcher almost feels like the strong father figure that Andrew never had, because Andrew's real dad in the movie, like, he has these little details about him that almost make him seem like not really a strong father figure. Like, the one scene in the movie theater early on where the guy bumps into him and his dad's like, oh, sorry. And, like, picking up on that this time was so interesting. Like, it's, like, polar opposites. Like, you have, like, the really weak dad, but then the big, like, strong dad. And it's, like, these two male father figures.
The jokes Terrence would make about his dad as well. Like, my God.
his
Like, him
mom.
being like a failed writer and, like, mommy left and shit.
Yes.
Yeah, he really
He's horrible.
That dinner scene too just went on, piggybacking off what you said earlier, Quinn, just mentioning his whole stance at the dinner table and how he's trying to prove himself or like brag about whatever. I really love how that scene is like contrasted with the next scene where he goes just referenced as a core member. He says this at dinner, but then when he walks in the very next scene, Terrence is like, you're a temp.
Yeah.
And you can see, I mean, it's just an incredible power play the whole time.
So well written.
Yeah, and it always feels like it's only like 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
I feel like I've just started this movie and
Every
now it's
time
over.
it flies by.
Yeah.
Do we want to all say it together? 3, 2, 1.
10.
Was it 1 year later or 2 years later? 2 years later.
2 years later.
Came back with La La Land. A little jazz musical.
A musical? That's so gay.
That's exactly what I thought when it came out. I was like, Whiplash was like the manliest thing ever. What is this?
It is in La La Land, like even the name, it's gay. It is, I guess, his biggest movie.
Yeah, it is cute because La La Land is a universal nickname for LA.
Oh yeah.
Which is explains the title. And I always thought that was really kind of neat. I mean, I love California. I love LA. I tell Liam about this. I can't wait to take him. But this movie really does kind of encapsulate what it feels like to go to California. It's just magical.
This movie makes me cry like a bitch. Not even the ending. Like the opening had me fucking in tears when I rewatched it like a week or two ago. It's like the extravagance of it, just how big it is, like the music.
It isn't like an ode to Technicolor too. It looks like Technicolor but modern.
That's another thing. Like if you were to name like the 3 things that Damien Chazelle is obsessed with, he's obsessed with music. Well, jazz, old Hollywood is one of them, and that's where you start seeing this. Yeah. Like he fucking loves like old Hollywood stuff. Everything from the title sequence to even some like editing stuff, like an homage to like those old style, like an old fashioned but still yet modern like musical.
It is 100% modern feeling. Obviously, it does have those touches of like the classical, 50s and 60s musicals and such. I think it does very much stand alone, and especially like when it came out, like I still don't think there's like many movies like La La Land that have come out in like the past 10 years or so. Like there's been musicals obviously, but like La La Land is really I think it's a really, really special movie, and I think I love this movie more than most people. I mean, like, when it came out, like, it was getting like universal praise, like nothing else. Sure shot to be like the best picture winner that year, and then obviously it didn't with that huge shit.
Even more popularity from the Oscars thing.
Oh, it totally did, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love the feeling of this movie. I love the look of this movie. I think Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling are just like one of the greatest cinematic pairings in history. Like, their chemistry is so infectious, and I love both of their performances here.
Yeah.
I think this is my favorite Ryan Gosling performance. I think he is fantastic in this. The dinner scene later, that between me and Sebastian, like just before she starts to do her play, probably the best bit of acting in the movie. I think it's just incredible, like, from both sides. The music, like Justin Hurwitz back again with an absolute banger of a fucking soundtrack. I listened to it like non-stop around the time the movie came out.
I hadn't seen it since like it came out. Probably the drama is like done so well, and the musical bits do not feel like too much. How many like actual songs are there that they like sing, really? 5. But they spread it out so well. Like, it feels like it's perfectly paced for a musical, honestly, which is like rare to say, I think.
This being like a mid-century like inspired film, Damien Chazelle's attention to detail, especially in a period piece or a modern piece, is pretty impeccable, because he doesn't mix any genre or any other area of Hollywood at the time that La La Land is like based in. So
it doesn't feel like it's got that style going with like the look of it,
and movies,
like it does feel modern in that way, but it's like cool to look at it like an older setting through that lens.
Totally. But he keeps it accurate.
Musical numbers in this film, probably the biggest one is Someone in the Crowd, like the one where like Emma Stone and her friends are going to like the party like near the beginning of the movie. That feels like the biggest of like all of them, like, because there's just so much going on. Like, there's that whole bit where like everyone freezes.
Comparing this to like Guy and Madeline as well, like, God, the choreography is on. Like, it's really on.
You can't even call a Guy and Madeline choreography.
It's just really
it was bad.
It's just so well choreographed, and everything feels like bombastic but calculated. His, like, one of the best things about Damien Chazelle, I think, is his blocking the scenes. He just knows how to put a scene together, especially here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's like magic watching everybody like touch the thing they're supposed to touch, like throw the thing in the air, like spin, step, like it's perfect.
The one bit that always makes me smile in this movie is like just in like the Another Day of Sun sequence, where like they go to like the back of the truck and they lift it up and there's just like a fucking whole percussion like area in the fucking van. I love that bit so much. It's just so over the top and joyous. I love shit like that. What are they doing back there? They're just ready. They're such goofsters, they are.
It's just fun. It gives it like that fairy tale kind of feel almost. Like, it's just fantastical and fun.
The story isn't anything special, I think, but I think the execution is what really makes it work. The direction it goes in is probably like one of the things that like sets this apart from the era that it's, kind of paying tribute to, where the opposite way that those older musicals would go, but it kind of maintains like a mature and optimistic look on it, and it's beautiful.
Spoilers for La La Land.
I'll tell you this though, the one thing that I've always kind of been apprehensive with this movie about is the John Legend cameo and his song.
More than a cameo at a certain point,
Yeah.
It's a part of the story for a good chunk.
I've been pissed off for the past 7 years to the fact that that's on the fucking soundtrack, because it's easily the worst song on there, and I don't want to listen to
the
it.
one.
Just get it.
Is that
out
when he
of
does
there.
the weird piano synth? It's fucking. It's like a joke.
Like John Legend did do it for the soundtrack. Like, he's too big a name to leave off the
Only
soundtrack.
Right,
John
like they gotta have it on there. Thinking about how adorable Ryan Gosling is playing the keyboard in that scene, and just how much he injects his personality into the character in the film. One of my favorite scenes is when they reconnect at that house party and he's in the 80s cover band. I always smile when I see that scene, and their chemistry is adorable, just like you said.
So what about the fact that they don't end up together? Because that's a big talking point, I guess, right? Everyone should be fine with it, right?
Yeah, obviously. It's a brilliant ending. It's the way it was meant to go, and it makes it way more interesting. That's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying it takes a more mature approach, because these are two people who need different things in their lives. It can't work because of the paths they want to go down.
I don't know. I still think it's depressing, though. The ending montage almost made me cry, just like watching.
Oh, it made me cry full on.
It made me cry, because like watching just like a montage of like the life that two people could have had together. And to be honest,
so
like I
perfect.
could apply it to my own life. life. And so that's why it really made me cry. I'm like, God, that's fucking sad. Like wondering like what if. But it's like, well, who's to say they couldn't have made it work? I know it wasn't working out for most of the film, but like, I don't know.
I do get what you're saying. On the one hand, I feel really sad too, because if two people really love each other, then why can't they make it work? But at the same time, like what Keelan said, this movie is so beautiful because it pays homage to these old Hollywood stories where two people end up together. But when you watch those old movies, somebody does have to sacrifice in order to end up together. Two people in this film are pursuing their dreams, and even when you get the montage at the end of the movie, Sebastian does not get his jazz club. She becomes an actress, and so in the end they both kind of get what they want, and they did make a sacrifice, but you know, it's
it's
The
true.
sacrifice
It
is
is
inversion.
sad though.
it's sad.
Sad, but beautiful.
Great, it's perfect. Thank you, Damien. I'm giving it a fat 10 out of 10.
I'd give it a 9 out of 10. It's amazing. It's a great production.
I would go with a 9 out of 10 as well. Mostly just because of John Legend, honestly.
Yeah.
if you weren't there, I think it would be a 10. Honestly, I do.
I'm with a 9 out of 10 too, because I love it, but John Legend is in it.
John Legend is in it.
Another 2 years later, he came back out with First Man. Odd shift for him, kind of out of his first 3 movies. But yeah, he decided to make a movie about Neil Armstrong.
It's
I
the
mean-
Black Sheep.
It's Neil fucking Armstrong, you know.
I think this was the last movie I watched for this, and I was just so disappointed that there was no whip hand.
They could have done it somehow, like during like
They
the
definitely could have done
astronaut
it.
training sequence. They could.
I was
done
like
some
full
whip
on
Yeah.
hand.
expecting it.
This is like the one movie of his. If you didn't tell me who it was directed by, I don't think I could guess. To be honest, not
Yeah.
that that matters to make it a good movie, but I'm just saying like that's why it feels weird for him because it doesn't have a lot of his trademarks or anything.
I mean, the biggest thing that stood out to me, like I saw it in theaters when it came out, just the score is incredible, and the sound design.
Amazing
Like,
score again.
holy
Yeah.
fuck. The sound design, especially in the one scene where they're spinning out of
Oh,
control.
yeah.
When that was happening in theaters, like I remember vividly like how I felt during that scene. I was like really uncomfortable. I wanted to leave. Probably the biggest like standout for me maybe in the movie. It completely like locks you in and you just cannot get out until they sort out this situation.
Yeah.
It feels so claustrophobic and fucking terrifying. But also it is like a very emotional and dramatic, slow-paced movie
Yeah.
that is very like focused on really Neil Armstrong at the end of the day, like him as a person.
Yes.
And I find it interesting that Damien Chazelle would want to do it.
I think it's a big part of history, and like he does give you a glimpse in the film of civil rights and sort of like protests about the space program and pieces of history. Like I think that he is someone who enjoys history and that
I
era.
suppose that's one thing I did gain from this movie is finding out that there were people that were against the moon landing. Like it feels like an obvious thing to think, but like I just never really considered that. I was just like, oh yeah, of course there'd be people like, oh, we can't do this, it's stupid. No,
Right.
it's cool as fuck. They're landing on the moon. What do you want?
Yeah.
Outrage over the government spending funds on a space program when people are starving, and
Exactly.
Yeah, overall, I didn't like this movie. This is something I've wanted to see since it came out, but I just never saw it in cinemas, and I was just kept putting it off. And after finally watching it, it left me feeling so cold. The film just kind of felt like totally empty to me. I do appreciate that this film is trying to do something different in terms of like biopics, because this is not what I expected at all in terms of what it was going to delve into, like in terms of it's mostly about like Neil Armstrong's like mental health and like how it kind of deteriorated a small bit after like the death of his like child, and then all his focus goes into, you know, doing this mission, and he starts to neglect his family and stuff like that, and enjoyed that it was going down that route, but like there was no kind of in point for me to get into it or be invested like emotionally. And I guess like, you know, being a moon landing movie, that's like that's what I meant to care about. I just didn't really feel a whole
I don't
lot
feel like it's a
during the
movie that I got like emotionally attached to or anything really. I guess I don't really feel that as much either, but I just get really sucked into the vibes.
I didn't get emotionally attached at all to this movie either, but like I don't always need that to enjoy the movie. I guess like it is just kind of a run-of-the-mill biopic in a lot of ways, but I just thought like technically it was just like a really great movie. Like it looks great, it sounds great, the performances are great. I love the cast, full of a lot of my favorite underrated actors, like Kyle Chandler, Corey Stoll, who
Jason
House
Clarke.
of Cards, Jason Clarke. I mean, it's just got like a lot of great actors that like people forget about.
It's a real movie of dudes.
I don't know if anyone agrees or not, but probably one of the lesser points of the movie is Claire Foy. She's not terrible or anything, but she's just kind of not that interesting to watch
Yeah.
as a whole movie.
yeah, there's something about, I don't love looking at her, but sometimes she
You
does
don't
something.
take it personal.
But
Jesus Christ.
She's just like, but she's kind of like, she's not like she's a good actress, but she is kind of
She's
a
a good
generic
actress,
looking
but-
actress.
yeah.
She is a big chunk of the movie too. I
Yeah.
mean, she's like supposed to be the grounded like heart and home of like his world, basically, like of this guy.
I think we'd have to maybe get into spoilers in order for me to say my next thing, so.
Spoilers for First Man.
I watched this movie once before and I didn't really love it. One thing that does bother me is that this movie is like a biopic, but it's almost like a splitting in my mind because I think it could have been such a good movie just about a guy, about an astronaut, if it was a little more like ambiguous, because it does give us an insight into like Neil Armstrong, but at the same time, it separates him so much in my mind from like the historical event in ways, like I was telling Liam at the end of the
Yeah.
film when he says his famous thing.
Yeah.
I felt like it was out of place because I felt like the guy I had been watching for 2 hours wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of why I like that. My favorite part of the movie was the whole moon landing scene. That's where the emptiness of the movie really worked for me. It kind of feels out of place for this to happen, but like this is something that. But I get what you're saying about
I
like
think it's just that
you,
line.
we wouldn't
It's just
expect
the
this
line.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that whole scene and I felt very emotional at the end of the film and I really love him thinking about his family in the summer and his child on the moon. I just didn't like that he said one small step for a man.
It feels like one of those things like, well, we have to say it. We have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
if we're doing a movie about this,
Right.
we have to say the
It's
big
Neil
thing,
Armstrong.
like the big
He
line.
says
That's
the
when you're like, oh, they said it.
Was really affecting for me to have his character really lost in his own head in a lot of the film, which I loved, and he was always looking at the moon, and there were a lot of really cool shots that could be generic, I guess, to some people, but I really loved in this film, you know, like the moon being out of focus and then it like focusing in and stuff like that. And then I love the first time they see the moon from the space shuttle and how beautiful it is to all of these men, and then when they get there and he's like thinking about all of this stuff and he like looks at Earth, I just really loved that. The film does say a lot, I think, about men, especially in that time period. I was talking to Liam about how he just can't deal with his emotions, and that's such a generational thing for, I think, men who grew up and, you know, were adults like during this time.
Yeah, and it's captured like really miserably here, I think, which
Yeah.
like is one of the things that's so striking to me. Ryan Gosling, like the way he carries himself throughout the movie, he barely like
Yeah.
says anything really.
Right. I mean, he's containing
Yeah.
a lot.
And like his son and stuff when he goes to like shake his hand later or whatever, I was
Mhm.
like, oh man, this is just it's
I
depressing.
know. I feel like that's what that program just must do to you, though. Or like,
Yeah.
especially if you're gonna be an astronaut, you're probably trained to think like a robot. Like you have to be cold and calculated because so much hinges on like you, and you can't let emotions get in the way of anything. Like
Right.
otherwise, it could fuck up everything. So
Yeah.
like, I understand like why you'd have to be like that.
And
That's
back
like,
then,
I guess,
too,
yeah, the main
yeah.
conflict
Mhm.
of it.
Direct the trademark I wanted to talk about. Whiplash, La La Land, and First Man, they all end with like two characters just looking at each other saying nothing.
Mm,
So that's
true.
a cool little trademark.
Oh.
that I like.
Yeah, at least he threw one of his trademarks in there.
Yeah.
No tap dancing though. There's
No tap dancing on the moon.
No,
Oh my god.
I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was great, not like amazing, but it was a great technical marvel of a space movie at the end of the day.
I gave it an 8 too.
Yep, I'm going with an 8 as well.
I'm giving this a generous 5 out of 10.
All right, boys, the reason that we all did this episode.
He came back with Babylon. Yeah.
Babylon.
It'll probably always be one of the most underrated movies of all time, I imagine, because of how much it bombed. It really sucks. It sucks that not enough people did see this movie, I think.
I'm actually really upset not enough people saw it now that I've seen it.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the most divisive movies too, because like this got horrible reviews too, like by critics. I feel like.
Yeah.
Like didn't it get like bad percentages and stuff?
It was critically well received, but it wasn't as
Oh.
well received as like his last 3 films, because even his last 3 films were critical darlings. Like even First Man, I think, was nominated for a couple of Oscars, but
Yeah.
you know, this was kind of
I think it
completely
won
brushed
visual
to the
effects.
side.
The beginning sequence of this movie turned me off to it. I tried to watch it and I was like, this is horse shit.
You mean elephant shit?
Yeah, I keep comparing this to Baz Luhrmann because I just felt like the opening scene was like so fast and it was like, let's have these guys fucking over here and the elephant's gonna shit in the camera and like
I mean, that's like
This
a lot of
chick's
the movie too, though. It's
overdoing and-
relentless. It's
I
just
know.
like relentless.
It's excessive.
Like, hopefully the beginning really threw me off too. Like not like it didn't make me like turn me off to the movie, but I was like, whoa, like is this what I'm in for? Like this is crazy already.
This
So,
is what I'm
like,
in for.
You know,
It
like,
was
I
a
mean,
lot.
That's what I
It's
was
a
wondering
lot.
when I first watched it as well. I was
Yeah.
like, is this going to be
Yeah.
the whole thing or whatever? But it, I mean, it's 3 hours and it just just keeps fucking going. Like, I feel like it doesn't let up, and it changes up
It's
so
a
much.
long fucking movie.
It is long, and sometimes you do feel the length, but it does move fast, which helps the pacing. But that's a good and a bad thing, though, because like I was engaged pretty much the whole time because it does just move and move and move. At the same time, there were points where I was like, all right, I'm getting exhausted. Like, I'm getting a headache. Like, I gotta pause for a bit, or like...
No, it's fucking awesome, man. One of the reasons I just love the direction in this as well, and the editing. Like, it's just so fucking crazy.
It's like a roller coaster where it takes you to a peak, and then it takes you down to like a very emotional point, and then it will bring you like back up to this peak.
And they do have like long,
down.
drawn out scenes as well, like in between those more chaotic moments. I feel like where you're able to like it's still intense and it's chaotic, but it's like it's more drawn out.
Yes.
And it feels like Tarantino type scenes almost.
It does.
Totally,
Like, it's
I would
fucking
agree.
great.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of Tarantino, this is like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on crack. Brad Pitt's character is Leonardo DiCaprio's character from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So it's kind of cool seeing that parallel.
But both of them, Brad Pitt and Leo, like read the script to this on that set.
That's funny that they both got to play that kind of same character almost. Yeah.
I have a big issue with this film, and I think I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but don't like Brad Pitt's character. Wish he wasn't in the movie.
Okay,
I think the movie is worse with him. I think the movie is worse off with him.
This is
I think
blasphemy.
he is a big part, but I think his parts are the least interesting parts of this movie to me.
I feel like he's like kind of the backbone.
I feel like he's like the main character.
Nellie's the main character.
Nellie's the main
Well,
character.
no,
You're
Nellie's
right,
the
you're
main
right.
character. Manny is the one who has the love for cinema. He's the viewer.
I do think Manny could be probably the main character, it's just hard to grasp that when you do have a big name like Brad Pitt or Margot Robbie right there.
I would say him or Margot Robbie.
I liked Rory Scovel. He's like the drug
drugs
dealer.
guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I loved him. Going back to my Brad Pitt point, I think his involvement with the movie kind of lessens Manny's character for me as well, because at points I started to view Manny as a character that just gets us between worlds, basically. Margot Robbie, we're seeing like, oh yeah, this is new Hollywood being ushered in.
We're not always seeing Manny though.
But it feels like he's our viewpoint into these worlds. When he's with Manny, they're almost kind of wallowing in like, oh yeah, these are the dying days of cinema. They don't need stars like us anymore, that sort of thing. It kind of feels like there's like a big separation between the scenes between Manny and Brad Pitt's character and the scenes between Manny and Margot Robbie's character. I really like their relationship. I like the relationship between Manny and Margot Robbie. I just didn't really care a lot for Brad Pitt's character.
That's what I love about Manny though, him like observing so much and then being able to like take it all in by the end of it.
I also love his character because he has so much passion for cinema, and he gets eventually in sort of a place where he can be involved in it, almost like playing a part in its corruption, just the tip before he's able to kind of leave it. You know what I mean? Like, I really I thought that was really interesting.
If you want to talk about like even individual scenes and stuff, just that initial first kind of long scene where he has to go and get the camera and stuff, and they're like waiting in the sunset and shit.
God, yeah.
That scene is absolutely amazing, and like the way it ends.
And Spike Jonze just has like a weirdo German filmmaker. He just shows up for no reason. It's just like that. I love that. It's insane. Another thing I really love about this movie, it's so big. There's so many extras. Oh my god, I have not seen so many extras in so long.
That's what I love about it. It brings back that love for like cinema for me, really. Like I see all of these moving parts and I'm like, oh my god, I just love all of this so much. The way that things were done back then, like you had to wait on a fucking camera guy until the sun went down or whatever, and like you have that last shot.
Yeah.
It's so good seeing things like that. And also the fact that something like that, like a movie like that back then could totally bomb or whatever, but you still have all of these like stories about them that are like unbelievable, you know? Like it's crazy.
No, the amount of extras is insane, because the whole, I guess, you know, like Liam said, the whole point is excess. Keelan's point, like with all the extras, like it almost did give me it almost felt like an old epic movie, to where like, because there's a lot of old epic movies like Spartacus, Lawrence of Arabia, to where there's just like endless extras, like armies of people, and it's like holy shit, like you don't see that much anymore. Like you just don't
like
see
seeing
that
the
in new
feels
movies.
of them. There's just lying down or sitting down like between takes. It's so cool to see.
There's the shot of like Brad Pitt talking to that guy or whatever, and you just see Manny getting chased by the whole crowd in the background. It's hilarious.
It's awesome.
The way they move through each period as well is just so well done too. Like I love the scene with the jazz singer.
Which jazz singer? Are we talking about the are we talking
the first
jazz singer,
talking
like the first movie with sound?
Oh yeah, I didn't know if we were, because there's almost like 4 different storylines that we focus on. You got Manny, then you got Margot Robbie's character, and then Brad Pitt's. Yeah, Sydney. And I think that whole aspect, that I kind of kept forgetting about that part of the movie. So every time we came to it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is another storyline. It just kind of added to the bigness of it and the length of it, and just like all these different things to keep track of. And so to me, the way that Keelan probably feels about Brad Pitt's character, I could do without the whole Sydney storyline, and it would still feel like a big, like, okay.
I still really like having it in there personally. Like, obviously there's the scene with him having to do the makeup,
the black
shit,
which is
that
horrible.
was disturbing.
Yeah.
It's so fucking hard to watch. Like, and how drawn out that scene is too. It's like, good God.
Yeah.
And
like,
just
everyone's
seeing
just so
him
uncomfortable.
with the charcoal on his
Yeah.
face, I mean, it's such a caricature, like they were making of black people in history. Sydney's character, I didn't feel like he took up enough space for it to feel wasted, but I see what you mean.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. It's just like, if I was thinking of things I would trim off the movie, that would probably be one of them. But I mean, it wasn't like bad.
I've said this as well, but it's probably my favorite Margot Robbie performance.
You guys decided I loved this movie when she's doing the silent film and they keep having her redo it and she's crying, and the director's like, how can you just cry like that on cue? And she's like, I just think of home. I love Margot.
She's nuts in this.
She's phenomenal.
She's crazy.
She's incredible.
How did none of these people get a fucking Oscar nomination?
She should have got an Oscar for this movie, I agree. Or at least a nomination. She was incredible.
There's another scene that involves her on a movie set with the fucking, like, the sound is just not working.
God,
and that just felt like it
kept.
kept. What did you think about that? Because like
I
that
thought it
just
was
goes on and on and on and on
scene.
to the point where it makes you start going crazy. Like they're all going crazy.
The guy is screaming a little too much. It's excessive, but God, every time she comes in and she's like doing it quiet and then she's screaming and they're, like.
It's just, I don't know. I was feeling like, looking back on it, like I was enjoying that, but in the moment, I think it was just like really gnawing at me. I'm like, oh my God. I just feel like maybe this is like Damien Chazelle saying, like, you want to know what it's like to make a movie? Like, it's like this. It's fucking stressful.
He's looking at like a lot of this stuff through like a really beautiful lens, I think.
Yes, and I actually saw that scene as more of an ode to history rather than a personal reflection, because I think that one of the themes in Babylon is how hard it is in the industry to transition and like evolve with the times.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's true.
silent films becoming talkies, a huge crazy thing.
And that's captured so well with Brad Pitt's story as well, I
Yes,
think. Like, just
Brad Pitt's,
him being like fizzled out, like it's really fucking sad and it's bleak.
It is sad. We haven't even we haven't touched spoilers yet, have we? Like,
We
haven't
should
set
do
the
it.
spoiler thing.
Spoilers for Babylon.
Dude, when I thought it was shocking that he killed himself. I did
Yeah.
not think he was gonna do that.
I think that's another reason why his character kind of feels superfluous to me, where he does kind of exit the picture after he's not needed anymore. I kind of felt nothing.
That's the
when he
sad
killed
thing.
himself.
That's how he feels. It's like he's not needed anymore. He has nothing else to give, really. What else is he for people in this era,
Yeah, I did read a review that I thought was so beautiful, and it was kind of describing, it focused more on Brad Pitt's character, where he is this guy whose everything has always been effortless, and he's never really felt anything for anyone, which kind of shows him being like a playboy and all of this other stuff. Focuses in on him having to say this line in this talking film where he's like, I love you, like blah blah blah, and he just can't do it.
Was that the same scene where the guys were all watching the movie and he was like saying, I love you, and like they were laughing at him?
His whole conversation and Jean Smart's dialogue is one of my favorite scenes in the film. She's incredible anyway.
Breaks my heart is when he finds out George died as well. And he's like, he's the first one to say I had talent
Yeah.
and stuff.
Oh shit.
And then he starts going and ranting to his wife. He's like, it's not a low art,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, that
It's-
was a good scene.
And then
It's
we-
such a
That's
powerful
good.
scene. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
You really
Man, I
start to
like
get
that.
into his character too, because when he goes to that party and the guy's like, hey man, sorry about it, and he's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's all right, he was a good friend of mine, but he's just talking about his career dying and
Yeah.
doesn't give a shit.
Like, he doesn't care about his...
Oh yeah.
Talking about the excess in the movie as well, like, it's a bit of an odd section of it, obviously, but like, Tobey Maguire's whole section...
Yeah,
my
I was just about to
God.
get into that.
That is
We'd be
excess.
remiss.
Like, if I've ever seen it in my life, like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
just going like 4 floors down, like each one getting worse and
It's
shit.
just like
Literally,
the-
going down to hell.
Yeah, it's like the
That's it.
7 circles of hell, and then when he's running back
Literally.
up and it's just like little clips of all the
Yeah.
sounds. That was really funny.
Yeah, fucking that was the point of the movie to where like I was already numb to everything because I was like, God, this movie is just throwing everything at us. And then we get that whole like nightmarish sequence with him.
Yeah.
Like I knew I had to come back to this because I need to fully. My brain was just like it was too much.
It was too much.
Such a weirdo.
Tobey Maguire was so good. He was so
He
good
was
in
so
his little
good.
bit part. I was like, you are scary.
Hearing him like name off his ideas for movies to them was fucking hilarious.
Oh my God.
I was that was the funniest moment for me. It was the
God, do you want to hear it? Like,
yeah.
he was just
And
perfect.
they sound like such dumb movies, and they're like having them.
It was something about like some intellectual being stuck in like the body of the midget or something, right?
Yeah, it was.
So silly.
And when he delivers it, he's like, but he's a midget.
But he's
It's
the
the
midget.
funniest
The joke is on us. Just
It was
cackling, laughing every time that guy spit in the background.
And oh my god,
Oh,
I
yeah.
hated it. And then I loved when Manny just nails him in the neck with the
Oh my
fucking
God.
axe. I was like, fuck. The humor in that whole sequence, in anyone else doing it, that would probably be not hitting. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, exactly.
I was so entertained the way that it's done. It's unique in
Yeah.
its way. Yeah.
But it's weird how like that scene also kind of like bleeds into, you know, the ending of the film, which is so bleak in terms of Nellie's character and stuff, like how she just wanders off into the night and she's
Into the
gone,
dark,
found dead. But just then, like, yeah, going to get married and stuff, it's also like romantically beautifully put together. You just like finally feel like Manny's like happy at least in
Yeah.
or whatever, but then it's like, fuck, she just wanders off and
Nelly in Mexico, that's a nightmare.
True.
Lots of cards,
Yeah.
lots of drugs.
some stars burn so bright.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so quick, you know.
Yeah.
Keelan, you're pretty quiet in all this.
Really did not like Tobey Maguire. I did not like his performance. I don't
I
know
mean,
what
he's
it was
goofy, but
about
he's
it.
fun.
I don't know. There was just something about his performance that was like, it's creepy, yeah, but like, he didn't convince me that he was a creep. But also, if you described this scene to me, I would think that I'd love this scene, but the execution was a bit off. I liked Randy from My Name is Earl spitting on the ground
Yeah,
every couple
I
of
was about to
seconds,
say.
but like that was about it. That had me like genuinely laughing quite hard. I liked that a lot. And one other part of the movie were like the only two parts of the movie that I was not very entertained. Like
What's
the rest
the
of the
other one?
movie, the ending sucks. It's absolutely fine.
Oh, are you talking about the big like ending montage like,
I'm-
of all the films and
I
stuff?
was in awe and I loved it. Like that's probably one of the main reasons I was so
Yeah.
passionate about this movie.
It's very wanky.
When he goes to get like the drug dealer from his apartment, and the guy just comes and fucking kills those two guys.
Yeah, I love that.
Which,
bit.
by the way, I
love that
hate
part.
when people get killed when they're eating. It really shocks me. The film, with the excess, is trying to show you how almost oversaturated and overstimulated we need to be. It has like excessive drug use, potty humor, like all of this other stuff all throughout the film. But in the end, it's injecting an excess in entertainment. It's almost like fucked up because all this stuff really makes us feel so much. It evokes a lot, which I think the ending is kind of trying to show.
I just think they didn't know how to end it. I genuinely think that it doesn't feel like they knew what point they wanted everything to go, and they're just like, oh well, I guess we have to have one more scene saying Viva Cinema or whatever. Like I just didn't. It just felt like it was trying a bit too hard. It felt very showy, and I didn't feel anything from the montage. I think what I like the most about this movie is that it feels like a grand like funeral for cinema. It feels like, oh yeah, it's the dying days. We're all going to throw parties. We're all just going to get extremely just messed up, and I appreciate that. And that montage does feed into that theme of the movie. It just gives me off vibes. I don't like the vibes of it at all.
You're infused with him and the idea that he's lived something that will be recreated. History repeats itself. Like all of these things are going to happen. He'll never see, but he's still like having his mind blown by how far.
But that is such an overwhelming thing sometimes to me. It's like I want to see like every movie ever made sometimes.
That's
But it's
Yeah.
like I know I never will.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really sad. Kind of accomplished in that scene with Jean Smart as well, where she's like, "It's bigger than you. It's
Yeah.
so much bigger than you." And
Like
you don't
I love when
realize
she's
that.
like he'll be like amazed that you took your last breath before he took his first breath. Like I love that.
Looking at it that way, like he was sitting there getting emotional, and like you know that he'll never see like the future stages of cinema, if that's what you're basically saying. Yeah, that kind of makes the montage hit a little bit harder and make more sense as to why it's there, I guess. To me, I was a little. I didn't hate the montage. It was just there. Seeing clips of like Avatar and then shit like at the end of like
Yeah.
this movie, it just threw me off.
Avatar is a film that shaped cinema when
Yeah.
it came out. It changed
Yeah,
the
important.
so much about
yeah,
it.
it's
So
an
are like
incredibly
like every one of the
groundbreaking
movies
film.
he shows, really.
Yeah, they're all groundbreaking films. Every film basically he showed. The only ones I remember seeing were 2001, The Matrix, and Avatar. I do not
Jurassic
remember the
Park.
other.
They did like Trip to the Moon, and they did that first like whatever clip of like the horse singing
Yeah,
and stuff.
that's
You
true,
know,
they
like
did all-
I can see what you mean by like wanky though. Like it
It
can be
is.
pretentious coming
Yes.
off that way, I
But
guess.
it is funny
yeah.
because I don't feel pretentious vibes from Damien Chazelle, even though he loves jazz and he loves all of his shit. That you're like, wow, that's
I don't
so.
get that either, though.
I was gonna say another detail about the montage. I thought the music choice could have been better. I like that, you know, it was one of the themes of the movie. I get.
Oh,
It
no,
was
I love
just,
that song.
Just seeing that with the montage over it, just kind of another jarring, like random thing to me. Like if it wanted to get me emotional, that music is not the music to do it for me. That type of thing. I didn't know what the montage was trying to make me feel.
Every time I think something is going to be a little oversaturated or like cheesy or something, he has some way of coming in and he's like, no, like, and he shapes it and morphs it into something that I find kind of breathtaking. And there were some parts where the montage before it kind of started where I was like, I don't know if these clips from earlier on in the movie are really going to work for me because it seems a little cheesy, but then it really ended up working. And then he put those shots in there of like the ink, the smoke and the ink. I really loved that.
Yeah, that looked cool.
I was really surprised. I absolutely loved it.
I liked it a lot too. I know that it's a movie I'm gonna have to come back to because it is so much to take in at once. Even in 2 sittings, it's a lot to take in. I need to watch it again to fully process it, but I did enjoy most of my time. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. It could definitely go up.
I'm going with a fat 10, obviously.
10 out of 10 for me too. I was surprised myself.
A very strong 8. I think I've said a lot, mostly negative things this episode, but I do love this movie. I do love a lot about this movie, and I would echo a lot of the points you
I
brought
would not
up.
have gathered that. You should have thought more.
Yeah,
I know.
those parts kind of drag it down a bit for me, but I was consistently entertained. There's a lot of things I got out of it.
Do we want to do a quick ranking? Or we can all say number 5, right?
Yeah, let's all say it.
Madeline.
Park Bench. I started forgetting the title halfway through.
First Man.
Yeah, I'd go with First Man as well.
I also go with First Man.
Yeah, I'd go with First Man too.
we
Why did
should've
we
done
say that
that.
together as well?
Yeah.
La La Land.
Same here. Yeah, La La Land.
I'd go Babylon for now.
Yeah, I'd also go Babylon number 3.
Whiplash.
Yeah, Whiplash, same.
Yeah. Number 2, I have La La Land.
Number 2, I also have La La Land.
Okay, sorry, like I do have Babylon as my number 1, and our conversation that we had just made me feel so emotional. Like I kind of want to. I like love Brad Pitt. I love Margot Robbie. Like I love it.
Yeah, Babylon, number 1.
Number 1, Whiplash.
Yeah, Whiplash.
Liam and Julie had the same exact ranking, and me and
We
Keelan had the same
did.
exact ranking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into listener questions. Got 4 questions this time. We got one from Not QC Views. The statement, he said, in my opinion, the best filmmaker on the rise. I don't know if he could say he's on the rise anymore. He's been making movies
Yeah.
for over a decade.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
He kind of had a bit of a floppy moment there with Babylon, but it sucks. It sucks. He
Yeah.
shouldn't have. I think Babylon's his best directed movie. Of course, I would say he's still he's gonna make bangers in the future. I'm sure.
What do you guys think?
Yeah. Well, I think what he means by filmmaker on the rise, I don't know, has more to prove or is coming into his own, or I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I
think
guess
he's
he's
proven
slowed up.
himself enough.
I think he does have further to go though, because
I think
he's
so too,
shown
yeah.
a lot of differentiation in his like films
Yeah.
so far. You know, Whiplash is stressful as hell. It's like a thriller a lot of the time, and then La La Land, happy musical. But Babylon's just fucking nuts. First
Well-
Man is a movie about Neil Armstrong. It's slow paced. It's just, if that isn't range, I don't know what is.
Highly anticipating what his next movie will be because I really have no fucking idea what it would be like or about.
It's a prison movie.
He's an exciting
A
director.
prison movie? Is that what you said, Keelan? Is that true?
Jazz in
There's no
prison.
cast or anything, but it's going to be a prison movie.
Next question from Movies That Don't Suck. Is Whiplash a modern masterpiece? That's the
Yeah,
he has 2 sections. So that, yeah, yes.
Duh.
But then he says, La La Land is massively overrated in my opinion.
I can
I
see
can
what
see
he means.
how it's like,
Shut
yeah,
up.
like, 'cause
Shut
it's
up.
so popular, it's so talked about. It's
Shut
like
up.
one of those biggest things.
No one cares if you think it's overrated. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's movies that don't suck. That's
Hey, he
that's
always
one of
sends
our-
something in.
You gotta be nice to that guy.
Careful.
Yeah.
I can see how people would think it's overrated because it is like one of those like top film bro movie. I mean, if you could
Yeah.
say that, but
It's a chick flick, bro.
It's for everybody. That's why it's so
yeah.
popular.
And then there's 2 questions from All Right So Reviews. What genre film would you like to see him try and make now that Babylon and First Man bombed?
Horror.
Yeah, why not?
You just say that for any director. You're always like, horror.
Because it'd be interesting. Are you saying you wouldn't be jazzed if you heard that Damien was doing a horror movie?
jazz horror movie. Imagine that.
As long as it's got jazz, I mean.
I want him to make another movie like Whiplash that's really contained.
I think he'd do a sick action movie.
And then he also asked, will Damien ever live up to the hype that La La Land and Whiplash created for him?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It sucks, but that was like really fucking huge when it happened.
Yeah.
It just sucks though that he became less talked about after that, when he really does like keep putting in a lot of effort. Films released pretty consistently too, I feel like it was like 2014, 2016, 2018, 2022.
Yeah, I do think that is a really interesting statement. This question, it kind of has a statement attached where this is such a strange thing for artists to make their big, insane movie, and then where do you go from there? Like, that's another reason why I think Babylon, now that I think about it, could be seen as more of an understated commentary on what people want and what they don't want. Because I didn't feel like he was making it. He was so like egotistical in that message, with this reputation of like, oh yeah, he peaked at La La Land and Whiplash. Like, where you'll never please anybody if that's...
No, for sure.
He may not hit that peak again, but he will keep making great films, I'm sure.
Having the slump with First Man and Babylon, I hope that just kind of makes his future movies even better. Just makes him more determined to make something cool.
Yeah.
Unless he just ends up doing, like, I don't know, Green Book 2 or something.
Oh my god.
We're gonna next basically just dedicate it to the yearly wrap-up, I think.
Yes.
We're gonna stop doing these as like a specific person's topic or whatever. So this will just be its own thing. It's not picked by any of us or whatever. And then eventually we'll move on to Julia afterwards, because that's the order.
Yeah, in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Also, since this will probably be coming out around Christmas, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
And a Happy
Happy
New Year.
holidays.
And Merry
for those who
Merry
don't
Christmas.
celebrate Christmas.
So that'll be the next topic. Yeah, talking about our
Yes.
2024 stuff, wrapping up the year and everything.
Find me at Views by Quinn on Instagram and Letterboxd and whatever. Just check out the link tree.
And you can find me at Liam and Hyde on most things. I'm on Letterboxd and Serialized and Music Board.
Well, you can find me in the link tree in the bio or in the Jazz Club as Only Shallow.
I've also got a link tree, so just click on that.
Yes,
Yeah.
click away.
I think he said, now, were you rushing or were you dragging? Or are you gonna be on my fucking time?